In the summer of 1917, the federal government handed a group of contractors a piece of Iowa farmland north of Des Moines and told them to build a city. Not a suburb, a city. In 60 days, no less. The budget was $10 million. The deadline was non-negotiable. American soldiers needed to be ready for the trenches of Europe. What they built on that land was extraordinary. 1,509 buildings spread across 5,200 acres. Barracks, mess halls, a 3,000-seat auditorium, a base hospital, 3 fire stations, libraries, and railroad depots. By 1918, 130,000 soldiers had trained on that ground. At its peak, 45,000 men were living on what is now the northwest corner of Johnston, Iowa. Then the war ended. The barracks were torn down, the wood was sold off, the fields went quiet. Johnston went back to being a crossroads between Des Moines and nowhere. By 1970, the entire city only had 222 residents. Today, Johnston is approaching 27,000 people. It has grown faster than 89% of similarly sized American cities over the last 25 years. And if you ask the people who moved here what brought them, not to Iowa, not to the Des Moines metro, but specifically here, to this zip code, the answer is almost always the same. It's not the restaurants. It's not the nightlife. It's not some dramatic geography. It's 4 letters, JCSD, the Johnston Community School District. I'm John Howard, and I'm covering the Des Moines Metro on this channel. And today, we're going deep into Johnston, Iowa. The schools in detail, what you pay to live inside the district, and the question every buyer without a school-age kid needs to answer before they write an offer here. Let me set the table with who actually moves here, because it matters more in Johnston than anywhere else I've covered to this point. The typical Johnston buyer is a family with school-age kids, or kids who will be school-aged within the next couple of years, who have done their homework. They understand what this district delivers and is willing to pay a premium to live inside it. Average homeownership duration in Johnston runs over 12 years. This is not a buy it and flip it market. People come here, plant their feet, and watch their kids go all the way through the system. And then they stay. Household income in Johnston ranks at or near the top among all Des Moines suburbs. The median runs well above state average, and the average household income is substantially higher than that. These are dual income professional households. Finance, ag tech, healthcare, insurance. Major employers like Corteva Agriscience and John Deere Financial both have their world headquarters inside the city limits. Some buyers live and work in the same zip code. For everyone else, downtown Des Moines is about 15 to 20 minutes south via I-35. The median age here is 37, slightly below the metro average, and about a quarter of Johnston's population is children under 15. Johnston is family heavy in the way that shows up in census numbers, not just in marketing. On the real estate side, Johnston sits at the upper end of the Des Moines metro price range. Homes here cost notably more than comparable square footage in Urbandale, Clive, or most of Ankeny. That gap isn't arbitrary. It's the school district premium, and it's been remarkably durable across multiple market cycles. During corrections that have pulled values down elsewhere in the metro, Johnston has held its ground. The city carries a AA+ bond rating and the 4th lowest city tax rate in the metro. So despite higher home prices, the ongoing property tax burden is actually more manageable than you might expect. Johnston residents pay roughly in line with what Urbandale homeowners pay and considerably less than Des Moines proper. When homes list here, they move. Well-priced properties in established neighborhoods don't sit. Inventory has been tight for years because Johnston residents stay, and the market reflects that consistently. The spread is wide. Older ranch-style homes near the river and the eastern corridors come in below the new construction neighborhoods that are pushing north above Northwest and 100th Street, where prices climb toward the high end of what this entire metro offers. In December 2025, the Iowa Department of Education released its Iowa School Performance Profile. Johnston Community School District was rated best in the Des Moines Metro for overall performance, earning a 72.18 rating against a state average of 63.28. Not competitive, best in the metro. So let's go through the specific numbers. Graduation rate, just over 97%. The Iowa state average is 88.27%. That's a 9-point gap. In educational measurement, 9 percentage points on a graduation rate, it's not a rounding error, it's a canyon. Math and reading proficiency. 79% of Johnston students hitting the state proficiency benchmark in both subjects. The state average is 68% in math and 70% in reading. Johnston clears those marks by double digits across the board. Post-secondary readiness through work-based learning comes in nearly 12 points above the state average. Last school year, more than 60 Johnston High School students completed paid internships with outside employers, not simulated classroom projects, while still enrolled in high school. 2 students graduated from Des Moines Area Community College before they ever walked across the Johnston High School stage. The district runs 8 schools serving over 7,400 students. 6 of those 8 were rated high performing in the most recent state report, 3 of which were Summit Middle School, Johnston Middle School, and Johnston High School. Every student, kindergarten through 12th grade, has a 1-to-1 iPad. The district has been recognized as one of only 17 Apple Distinguished School Districts in the country, with all 8 of its schools individually holding Apple Distinguished School status. That level of technology investment at this scale is uncommon. Athletics and activities carry the same weight, if not more, as academics here. The Dragons captured 13 state championships in the 24-25 school year with 5 coaches of the year. If your kid is serious about sports, music, STEM, or theater, the infrastructure and competitive level are both in place. One number worth watching on the other side. The student-teacher ratio at Johnston High School is 21-1, compared to the Iowa state average of 14-1. The school's aggregate outcomes are still excellent, but nearly 1,800 students in grades 10 through 12 is a large environment, and individual experience will vary. If your student works better in smaller classrooms with more direct teacher access, that's worth factoring in specifically before you commit. The single most telling stat across all of this, more than open enrollment into Johnston Community Schools District than out. In a metro where families have options and can cross district lines, the enrollment flow runs in. Johnston is a premium market, and a substantial share of that premium is the school district. Take a comparable home and move it lot for lot from Urbandale or Clive into Johnston, and you're paying more. Year after year, the market data confirms that gap. The calculation every buyer needs to run. You're paying above the metro norm for the home itself. That premium shows up in your purchase price and your mortgage. Not as dramatically in your ongoing tax bill, since Johnston City levy runs 4th lowest in the metro. The cost is front-loaded. If you have school-age kids who will be in this district for the next 10 to 15 years, that math often works out in your favor. You're buying access to the high-performing documented school system in this market at a time when your family needs it. And you're in a community where the social infrastructure, the same schools, the same parent volunteers, Friday nights at the football stadium, reinforces that investment continuously. If you don't have school-age kids, you need to be clear-eyed about what Johnston delivers at that premium price. The outdoor amenities are excellent. The commute is efficient. The community is well managed. But the premium is largely school-driven. And if schools aren't in your household equation, Clive or Urbandale will likely give you comparable suburban quality of life at a better entry point. Johnston doesn't have a dramatic physical identity the way some suburbs do. There's no dense main street, no mixed-use lifestyle corridor, no prairie trail equivalent. What it has is a well-maintained, well-organized suburb that has been growing since the late 90s and hasn't stopped. In the older core, you get established tree cover, tighter lot sizes and ranch homes and split levels from the 70s and 80s sitting next to more recent infill. These are neighborhoods where the oak trees have had 40 years to grow in, and the street character reflects it. Push north above Northwest 86th and into the Northwest 100th corridor, and you're in newer construction territory. Bigger lots, more open street layouts, newer materials, and prices that reflect all of it. This is where most of the active development is concentrated. The city annexed over 1,400 acres to the northwest, and that land is converting to residential and commercial use at a steady pace. If you want new construction with room to grow, this is the zone to watch. The town center at Northwest 62nd and Merle Hay Road is the closest thing Johnston has to a civic hub. Completed in 2022, it's a 42,000 square foot city hall with the yard adjacent. An outdoor gathering space that hosts the Johnston Farmers Market on Tuesday evenings through the summer. Movies on the yard on select Fridays, and a free concert series on Saturdays. It's the version of a town center that this community has been working toward for years, and it's getting better. Terra Park is the crown jewel of the park system. 200 acres along Beaver Creek with an 8-acre fishing lake stocked with largemouth bass, catfish, and bluegill. A pier, an amphitheater that stages summer concerts and outdoor events, inclusive playground structures, sports courts, picnic shelters, and outdoor fitness stations. Kites on the Green takes over Johnston Commons Park in May for kite competitions, kite building workshops, and live music. And then there are the trails. 45 miles of paved trails winding through the neighborhoods and natural areas, connecting to the regional network and eventually linking to 600 plus miles of central Iowa trails. Johnston is car dependent for most errands, but for recreation, the trail access rivals anything in the metro area. Something unique to Johnston that most suburb coverage either skips or mentions in passing. Camp Dodge. This is a 4,500 acre Iowa Army National Guard installation sitting in Johnston's northwest quadrant. It's been here since 1908, longer than the city itself has been incorporated, and it currently serves as the Iowa National Guard statewide headquarters for military operations, training, and emergency response. There is no on-base housing at Camp Dodge. Guard personnel and their families live in the surrounding community, which creates a specific thread in northwest Johnston that feels different from the Corteva adjacent neighborhoods or the new construction corridors up north. The Iowa Gold Star Military Museum is on the grounds and open to the public Tuesday through Saturday, free of charge. It covers Iowa's military service from the Mexican-American War through the present day, and has received a Des Moines People's Choice Award for Best Museum. If military history or service is part of your family's story, it's a meaningful community asset that's easy to overlook on a suburb comparison spreadsheet. The installation also shapes Johnston's land use pattern in a tangible way. A specific portion of the Northwest is effectively locked by Camp Dodge, which contains development in that direction and gives the northwest part of the city a character you won't find in Ankeny or Waukee. Here are the pros of living in Johnston. The school district is the clearest advantage in the Northwest Des Moines metro, and it's not close. A 97.39% graduation rate, 9 points above the Iowa average, math and reading proficiency clearing state benchmarks by double digits, post-secondary work-based learning readiness nearly 12 points above the state average, with internships and early college credit baked into the program. 13 state championships in a single school year, technology infrastructure, one-to-one iPads, one of 17 Apple distinguished districts in the country that most Iowa systems can't match at any price. If a documented top-performing K-12 system is your household's primary requirement, the data clearly points here. The commute situation is underrated for a suburb of this size. Johnston sits at the I-35, I-80 interchange, and most metro employment centers are 15 to 20 minutes away on a normal day. If you work in the North Metro at Corteva, John Deere Financial, or anywhere along I-35 toward Ankeny, you may be looking at under 10 minutes. Iowa traffic means those numbers are achievable. Safety is one of Johnston's strongest under-the-radar attributes. Crime runs approximately 69% below the national average, with violent crimes especially low. Johnston is safer than roughly 78% of U.S. cities and approximately 91% of Iowa cities by the most recent data. Residents consistently describe a neighborhood feel where kids move around independently, and the numbers support that perception. Outdoor recreation is a standout category for this suburb. 45 miles of connected trails, Terra Park at 200 acres with a fishing lake and amphitheater, Beaver Creek mountain bike trails, proximity to Saylorville Lake for paddling and fishing. For buyers who build their daily or weekend routine around outdoor activity, Johnston delivers access that comparable metro suburbs can't match. Major employers inside the city limits is not something most suburbs of 25,000 people can claim. Corteva Agriscience and John Deere Financial, both world headquarters, operate here. If your career is in ag tech, financial services, or adjacent sectors, you may be able to reduce your commute to minutes rather than a metro drive. Municipal stability and financial management show up in measurable ways. A AA+ bond rating, 4th lowest city tax rate in the metro, the kind of fiscal discipline that means your city services are well funded and your long-term tax picture is predictable. Home values have held up through market cycles with more consistency than most metro suburbs. The combination of employer presence and school district reputation creates a floor that other communities can't replicate. Buyers who have owned here through multiple cycles report less volatility than suburban peers. And the community fabric that forms when similar households concentrate in one place over time is here in full effect. Median age of 37, a quarter of the population under 15, average home ownership over 12 years, that's a cohort of people in similar life stages making a shared long-term investment. It produces strong community engagement, active youth programming, and a social calendar that's full if your life centers on your kids' school and activities. Here are the cons of Johnston, and they deserve the same time and specificity as the pros. You are paying a school district premium in the purchase price of your home. The market data is consistent on this. Johnston homes cost more than comparable properties elsewhere in the metro, and a meaningful portion of that premium is the JCSD brand. If you don't have school-age kids, you are paying for something you are not using, and that is a significant financial consideration over the life of the mortgage. Walkability is essentially absent. Johnston's walk score sits at 28, among the lowest of any significant Iowa suburb, lower than Urbandale, lower than Ankeny. You will drive to get groceries, coffee, dinner, and most anything else. This is a car-dependent community by design, and there is no realistic near-term change coming. If walkable neighborhoods and the ability to run errands on foot are meaningful to your quality of life, Johnston doesn't deliver them. The dining and nightlife scene is limited. There are good restaurants here. Trostle's Greenbrier has anchored the local dining scene at the top end for over 35 years. Cork 50131 has more than 120 wines by the glass, and a handful of former food trucks that earned enough loyalty to go brick and mortar have added depth. But if you are comparing against the dining density of West Des Moines Valley Junction corridor or Ankeny's expanding scene, Johnston will feel thin. The city's own economic development messaging describes Johnston as on the cusp of a retail renaissance, which is accurate language for where the commercial scene currently stands rather than where it's arrived. There is no true town center identity yet. The town center at Merle Hay and 62nd is a step forward, and the event programming at the yard gives the community a seasonal gathering place. But it's a civic facility with a lawn, not a walkable commercial district with the critical mass that makes a place feel active all week. Johnston has been working toward a center of gravity for years and hasn't fully landed it. Traffic on the main commercial corridors is no longer a suburban afterthought. Merle Hay Road and the Merle Hay to I-35 connector back up during peak hours, and the city's own projections put Northwest 86th Street at nearly 45,000 daily vehicle trips by 2030, as North Johnston continues to grow. This is still Iowa. It's not a gridlock situation, but Johnston's traffic picture is a different conversation than it was a decade ago. The student-teacher ratio at Johnston High School is above the state average at 21-1, compared to Iowa's average of 14-1. The school's aggregate outcomes are excellent, but a school of nearly 1,800 students is a large environment, and individual experiences vary across departments, teachers, and programs. If your student needs smaller class environments or more direct teacher access, that's worth investigating specifically before committing to the district. And if you're moving from a market with meaningful urban infrastructure, a nightlife scene, a dense arts district, walkable cultural options, Johnston is not trying to be that. The community calendar orbits around youth sports, school events, and family-oriented programming. For the buyer Johnston is built for, that trade is not just acceptable, it's the point. For buyers expecting something different, it's a quality of life gap worth naming directly before you commit. Here's who Johnston is built for, and here's where the calculus breaks the other way. Families with school-age kids who have done their research and decided the district premium is worth paying, that buyer exists in large numbers here. The market proves it year after year. And that's your situation. Johnston delivers what it promises with unusual consistency. The district's performance numbers have been durable for years, and the enrollment pattern confirms the direction of demand. Buyers who want a stable, established, well-managed suburb with major employer access and don't need walkability or a dense commercial scene to feel at home, finance and insurance professionals, ag tech workers at Corteva or its orbit, healthcare employees commuting into the Des Moines medical corridor, military families connected to Camp Dodge, these buyers consistently find Johnston a strong fit. Buyers relocating from higher cost markets who see Johnston's price point not as a premium, but as a relative value. If you're coming from a coastal metro or a high cost Midwest market, Johnston's combination of top schools, low crime, outdoor access, and short commutes looks like an exceptional deal even at the top of Iowa's price range. Where Johnston is a harder call, buyers without children who are paying the school district premium without using the product, buyers who prioritize walkability and dining density. Buyers looking to squeeze the most square footage per dollar, and buyers who want a more energetic suburb lifestyle, Ankeny, Waukee, West Des Moines, or Clive will likely serve those needs better at a lower price point. Johnston knows exactly what it is. It delivers on it with documented, measurable consistency. And the buyers who come here for the right reasons, they stay. If that sounds like your household, drop your question in the comments or reach out. I'm covering this entire metro, and I'm happy to help you figure out if Johnston is your market or somewhere else makes more sense. If this was useful, subscribe to the channel. We're building a full guide to every community in the Des Moines metro, and Johnston is one chapter in a much larger story. Questions about Johnston specifically or anywhere else in this market? Drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.